Plot twists, or if you were to say it in ancient Greek, like and subscribe, is a common trope within any form of media to subvert the expectation of the viewer in accordance with the story. Plot twists can often be perceived as good or bad depending on what it actually entails, but the thing is that typically speaking, plot twists are a very surprising part of any respective media, and Ninjago is absolutely no stranger to that. Ninjago has had many plot twists over the course of the years that have definitely been interesting and caught the viewer's attention. But what are the best plot twists or the most surprising plot twists that we have ever seen when it does come to the show? There are many to select from and many contenders for this category, but what I have done today is taken, in my opinion, the 5 best plot twists that we have ever seen in Ninjago, and ranked them from the least surprising or least interesting to the most surprising or interesting. And I want to present it to you today and see what you guys think, because I think it's a fairly interesting concept, and I definitely do want to know what your guys' opinion is on the best plot twist Ninjago has had to offer. But let me not waste any more of your time, and let's talk about Ninjago's biggest plot twists. Coming in at the number 5 slot for the most surprising is definitely going to be the reveal that Aaron's parents are actually alive. This came at the end of Season 3 Part 1, given to us by Rogue or Jay at the time, and this was a genuine shock to us and also the ninja, because by this point we were completely led to believe that Aaron's parents were actually gone. There was no further indication that there could be anything more to it. We did get a slight glimpse of them during Season 1, but the thing is that actually had no bearing on the wider implication when it did come to the characters. Jay's completely casual drop of that information was just not something that people were expecting when it did come to Aaron's parents, and honestly something that is still quite surprising to this very day, because it's not like there was any sort of further implication as to whether or not they were alive. The thing is that Raz completely convinced Aaron of the former, being the fact that they were no longer around, and there was no reason to believe that he was lying, but it seems to be that by all accounts he was, so it definitely did come as a massive surprise when it did come to Ninjago fans. But honestly, I am extremely happy that this is the route that they did go down when it did come to this reveal. I'm glad that we actually do discover this information at the same time that the ninja do. It would have been a shame if we did get it revealed to us much earlier before the rest, because it just wouldn't have been that much of a shock. But us discovering it naturally alongside the main team definitely was a very good aspect to that plot point, and it's definitely why it's one of the biggest surprises and one of the biggest twists that we've actually seen when it does come to Dragon's Rising, and I'm glad that it did actually have some influence then going forth, because that information did lead the ninja to completely prioritize the fact that his parents were somewhere. I just like this inherently, and I think it just did a massively good job when it does come to subverting the expectation. So for that reason, it had to be in the number 5 slot, and it had to have some attention given to it, because honestly, I genuinely think that's one of the best we got in Dragon's Rising. Coming in at the number 4 slot is going to be the reveal that Jay is actually adopted by Ed and Edna. This reveal came in Skybound and came as the byproduct of one of Nardakan's wishes. Now, initially, I actually didn't even believe this, and I thought this was just simply Nardakan being manipulative, but by all accounts, it is actually the truth. Jay is adopted, and his original parents were Libba, the original Elemental Master of Lightning, or at least the one that came before Jay, and Cliff Gordon. Now this reveal was a massive surprise because, again, in similar vein to the Aaron reveal, there's just no reason to believe that this was actually going to be the case. And when we actually see it within the show itself, they set it up in a very bleak sense, because Jay doesn't understand the fact that he's adopted, and he believed that his father, or at least his adopted father Ed, was no longer with them because of the nature of the wish. This was a very dark scene and definitely was something that was very surprising to see within the show. They even set up this suspense of it may actually have been Ed that did end up passing away within the show, but in the end it does change up and it does reveal that Cliff Gordon was his original father. Now this reveal I think is really shocking. It's definitely, like I said, a more mature theme and just something that I really didn't know what to do with at the time. But I do think with retrospect in mind, it was actually a fairly good plot point and a good twist at that, because it really did show how stuff like that and blood doesn't entirely matter in this case. Jay will always acknowledge Ed and Edna as his true parents. They raised him, they did everything for him. They were the ones that made Jay who he was, so in his mind it truly didn't matter that he was adopted. But regardless of that, it's still just really shocking to see, and it's something that we still to this day don't actually have much information on when it does come to the context around it. We've only ever had really small snippets on what could actually be the story there. But like I said, it really doesn't change the fact for me that this reveal was truly shocking and genuinely something that feels extremely notable to this very day. Jay sometimes references this information, he does it in his conversation with Unagami at the end of Prime Empire, and I do think that was a really good utilization of that moment. But it does just go to show that this twist was really something that does alter someone if you truly don't know what to do with it. But we see Jay work through this information, we see Jay acknowledge the benefits and the downsides of it, and we see him actually adapt to this information and become a better person because of it. But it was definitely a huge twist, and certainly wasn't one that I was expecting back then, and to an extent, I still don't really expect them to do something like that now. But yeah, regardless, really good one, and it has to be number 4. Plot twist number 3 is going to be coming from Tournament of Elements, and this was the plot twist that Skylar is the daughter of Master Chen. This was, again, an extremely shocking moment and is set up perfectly, because again, we have a scenario where the characters were completely unaware, and us as the viewers were also completely unaware. Skylar does anything and everything to actually deceive the ninja and the rest of the Elemental Alliance, and by all account the viewers as well. We are led to believe that she is completely on the ninja side, as she actively does do things that does benefit them, and then in the end to see her actually change form and reveal the fact that she was the traitor was genuinely huge. This is honestly one of the biggest moments and definitely was character defining, and something that does play a massive part in how the season plays out from that point onwards. But again, then looking back at seeing what she was doing beforehand with retrospect in mind, it really is something that is really jarring to see when you take a look at it, because those subtle actions that she does do make a whole lot more sense when you actually know about that twist. This, in my opinion, was just played out perfectly. I think they really did know what they wanted to do with Skylar when it did come to this season, and I do think that twist pays off in a lot of different ways. It really did just feel like something that we weren't meant to find out until the writers wanted us to know, and that is, in my opinion, the best part of writing these moments, and something that everything I'm mentioning in this video does have in common. It's not a twist that is easily predictable. It's not a twist that you can actually foresee ahead of time. And that is what makes them fantastic. It's the fact that you can't predict it, but there are traces of evidence when you do have that hindsight. So the Skylar reveal just simply had to get that credit. It was just something that really was perfectly crafted and something that was a massive talking point when it does come to that season. So yeah, it is more than deserving of the number 3 slot, and definitely one that to this very day I like to actively go back to, because that reveal is just bone chilling. But yeah, there's definitely a few that's better, but this one I do love. The plot twist taking the number 2 slot had to go to the reveal of Harumi being the quiet one. This is an iconic reveal when it does come to the history of Ninjago, and something that solidified Harumi being a lot of people's favourite Ninjago villains of all time. This does follow what I've said already about a lot of the other characters or the other plot twists that we've had got. The thing is that there is again no real indication that she is the person that is capable of this. There is no real reason to believe that she's anything just beyond the Jade Princess. But the thing is that when we do get the reveal that we get at the same time as the ninja, we get to see again how she acts in accordance with that information. You then look back in season 8 and you acknowledge her abilities with a sword, the Sons of Garmadon's knowledge, her just rather not so weird and uneasy reactions to things that should have a bigger reaction from her. There are so many things that just make so much more sense with retrospect, and again, in similar vein to other ones, it is simply bone chilling. Harumi being the quiet one is just something that was absolutely fantastic, and regardless on how you feel about her eventual return, it really did go and become something that was truly iconic when it did come to Ninjago. Like I said, in context of the Oni trilogy, she is by far one of the best things that we've ever seen when it does come to the show, and that plot twist is a major factor of that. That is what led to so many amazing scenes and led to just a lot of amazing moments just purely from that reveal. I really do like how they did it. There were some subtle implications that you could have taken from external sources like the Lego promotion animation, but the thing is that still with that information in mind, you could still have gone into the season and been completely blindsided by this, and that is what I absolutely love. The Harumi Quiet One reveal will always go down in history, in my opinion, as one of the best scenes of the Oni trilogy, really stamping its mark on why these seasons are near enough universally beloved, really showing off the attention to detail, the tone, the setting of these seasons. I think it's the perfect companion when it does come to the themes of Season 8. So yeah, had to have the number 2 slot, and before we get into number 1, I do want to give a very honourable mention. And that is going to go to the reveal of Lloyd being the Green Ninja. Now, a lot of people would consider this the best plot twist that we've ever seen when it does come to the show. A lot of people expecting Kai, Jay, Cole, or Zane respectively. But the thing is that whilst this is a fantastic reveal and definitely something that is really fun to see, I think this is something that just didn't have the benefit that all of these other reveals actually had. Which is the main thing being that we just kind of knew that this was going to happen. We had an understanding that it was most likely going to be Lloyd based off of information that we knew about the season going in. It just kind of made sense that it was going to be Lloyd. There were so many ideas and so much speculation around it being the case, so it was definitely something that people weren't as shocked by, but still something that does become iconic. It's just missing a lot of the seeds that I've talked about with these other reveals that made them truly fantastic. It's just missing those little tidbits of information and that hindsight that really did solidify it as one of the best moments. Don't get me wrong, it is, it just doesn't have the things that everything else has. So that is why it's getting an honorable mention, because it really does exist externally in my opinion. But the number 1 reveal, I think it's quite obvious to say what it is, and I think it's truly the best one. And that is going to be the reveal of Zane being a robot. This is definitely the biggest thing that so many people to this very day still actively look back at and often regard as one of the best plot twists that we've ever actually seen. This reveal is truly something that is incredible. Tying it in with the True Potential arc was something that was amazing to see, and it was definitely something that really solidified Zane as a character when it did come to these earlier seasons. That scene of him just opening up his torso, revealing all of those inner mechanics, is just something that is uncanny, but also just completely fascinating at the exact same time. Tied along with all of the memories of his life, tied along with everything with Dr. Julian, it really did solidify itself as debatably the best plot twist of all time. Something that no one would have been able to predict, even if you did look at external media. There was nothing to believe that this was going to be Zane's fate. It seems to be that there was something that was truly meant to be revealed when we were meant to understand it. Also considering the fact that he wasn't initially wrote as a robot. But that doesn't matter, in my opinion, it's still complete solid evidence that this is the best plot twist we've ever seen. Something that has defined Zane's character from that point onwards, and something that really did leave its mark on the LEGO Ninjago community. So it had to get that credit, it had to get that number 1 spot, because it really was something that did deserve it. And that is why I've put it there. But those are, in my opinion, the 5 most biggest and most crazy plot twists that we've ever seen when it did come to Ninjago. And I want to know, do you agree with my list? Do you think there's anything missing here? Ones that I was considering were stuff like the Samurai X reveals with Pixel and Nia, talk about how Wu was the deceiver for Asphira. There were genuinely a lot of ones that you could go with, but those 5, in my opinion, and also the Lloyd one, is just something that was truly special and something that does have a commonality between all of them. Just that shock factor, that honestly weird surreal belief, and just that utter reveal and dread that you can feel from those moments. They really did just have something that just made sense, and that is why I had to give them that credit. But like I said, I would love to know what you think and if you agree. But thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people, and if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of you, your support means the absolute world to me, and I truly cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that's about it for today, and take care. Okay,